Hey, and welcome to day 175 of Bible 365. I am your host, Kathy Carter, and today we are reading through the Bible in 365 days, hence the name Bible 365, using the one-year chronological Bible reading plan available online at oneyearbibleonline.com. So today's reading, it's June 23rd. Today's reading is day 175. We have 2 Kings 15:32 through 16:9. 2 Chronicles 27 through 28, Micah 1, and Isaiah 7. So we're doing a lot of flip-flopping back and forth between some prophets and the book of Kings. This is all in the time of where God is revealing some stories to the people of Israel. So your very quick background is as follows. First of all, if you've never been with me before, and you've already stuck with me this long, I'm reading through the Bible in 365 days in order to get to know the heart of God, not to have basic instructions before leaving earth, right? So if you've ever heard that before, that Bible means that, I want you to toss that out the window because that has nothing to do actually with your life. The way you reveal how you know who God is the way that you act on this earth, right? But the main point and purpose is who is God? Do I know him? Am I following the real God? And you do not know him if you have not read his book. I promise you that. Even if you have let a pastor read his book for you, you are likely missing something. We all have perspectives. And so if you have stuck with me, if you've been with me for any amount of time, you're probably going to recognize that my perspective is much more challenging than it is encouraging. Right. So I have a point and purpose more about convicting. Like, it's my personality. I'm a fitness instructor. And so as a fitness instructor, I'm not nice and sweet. I'm like, hey, you did 10. Good. Let's do 20 more. Right. So that's just more of the personality style that I have. And so that's what you're going to get when you listen to me. When you listen to someone else, you're going to get a different perspective. And that's what's amazing about it. Right. So that's what God's word is sort of with all of us. But the truth is always the truth. So I don't want you to steer away from that you go, oh, well, that's your truth and that's someone else's truth and that's someone else's truth. No, it's always the truth, but sometimes there's a perspective in it. So what we need to do is take out as much of that as possible and then read the Bible as thoroughly as possible as we can, and to hear God, and obviously every time to pray before we do that. So we are in the nation of Israel. It is cemented in the land of Israel. It is broken up into two kingdoms, the northern and the southern kingdom. There's been somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it's like 18 or 19 kings in the land of Israel. Almost every single one of them has been a bad king. And then there are somewhere like 11 to 13 kings in the land of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, which is the descendants of David. And it's been about 50-50. So about 50% have been good kings. And by good kings, I don't mean they're nice. I mean they follow the Lord. And about 15% of them have gone their own way, followed different gods, and have done evil in the sight of the Lord. And so at this point, it's gone on for a few hundred years, and God is saying, enough is enough. I'm going to send people to you, and I'm going to let you know that I will no longer stand for any of this. My patience has expired. I'm not going to hang out and do this anymore because I've showed you who I am time and time again, and you refuse to turn to me. And so these are the things that are coming. Be prepared for them, right? And then here we go again with something that happens in the future. When you see that these things have transpired, I was going to say perspired. When you see that these things have transpired, then you know that the Lord is who he says he is, right? Because his promises have come true, even the bad ones. So good and bad, he makes it good on his promises. Okay, so today we are starting in, it says in the second year, it's 2 Kings. 2 Kings 15. In the second year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel. So this is the king of the northern tribes. Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, began to reign. So now we have Jotham, one of our later kings in the book. And so he's reigning. He was 25 years old and he reigned for 16 years. And so we just see a couple of the things that he did. They don't go into too much detail here, but they do a little bit. And I know, as I've mentioned on a couple occasions, Chronicles seems to have a little bit more information than Kings does. So it says Jotham was 25 years old when he became king. He reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. And it says when he was king, right? So when he was king, the temple was kind of a mess. And so he worked on rebuilding the temple. So he was a decent king in the sight of the Lord, and he worked on rebuilding the temple and fixing some of those walls and some of the things in there, like the gate and everything like that. So, and then it says, and the Ammonites brought him the same amount also in his sight. The Ammonites became, so sorry, going before that. Jotham waged war against the king of the Ammonites and conquered them. And then, so this is another thing that he did during his reign. It says that year the Ammonites paid him 100 talents of silver, 10,000 cores of wheat, and 10,000 cores of barley. And so then they did that a second and a third year as well. So this is what happened when he ruled. And then after he ruled, he rested with his ancestors. And then Ahaz, his son, succeeded him as king. Okay, so that's our little kings section. And now we're going down into Micah. Micah is a new prophet that we haven't heard from yet. So we've heard from Isaiah. We heard from Amos. His book is over. We heard from Jonah. His book is over. And now we're into a little bit of Micah. So we just get a little bit of a flavor of Micah. And it's because of the timing, right? So some of their timing, like Isaiah, we're going to see spans over a couple of decades. And Micah, the beginning of this seems to take place, it says, shortly before they were captured by Assyria. All right, so in verse 1, it says, the word of the Lord that came to Micah of Moresheth. Moresheth means he lives in Judah, right? So he's part of the southern kingdom. This was during the reigns of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. So obviously he was in Judah, and he is prophesying up here. This is the vision, though, that he saw concerning Israel. So Samaria is in Israel. It says, hear you peoples, all of you. Listen, earth and all who live in it, that the sovereign Lord may bear witness against you. So he's giving them a warning. The Lord is going to bear witness against you. And it's because of all the things that they were doing. So it says, look, the Lord is coming from his dwelling place. And when he's coming down, it's like he's breaking valleys and he's splitting things open. And right, so he's coming down pretty heavy and pretty hard. All this because of Jacob's transgression. So Jacob is the human that lived during the time of Genesis, if you were with me then. And the Lord renamed him Israel, and his 12 sons are the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel, right? But again, we're going back a couple thousand years. It says, what was Jacob's transgression? Is it not Samaria? So Samaria itself is the transgression of Jacob. What is Judah's high place? Is it not Jerusalem? So again, these guys are not serving the Lord. Therefore, I will make Samaria a heap of rubble. So he's going to come in and he's going to destroy Samaria and Israel. He's going to destroy everything. And then he says, because of this, I will weep and wail. So he's not happy about what he's doing. So he's not a God that's reveling in this destruction. And again, I know I've mentioned it, but he has been patient for a really, really long time. He has dealt with them time and again, turning away from him and doing evil, by the way. So if we look at God and we recognize, I shouldn't say wait, when I look at God, now I recognize that God created the universe, right? So always my go-to, God created the universe. And he created it, and he created us. So he is the creator of the universe, and he is the creator of us, right? So he's bigger than me. He's more than me. And he tells me to do something, right? What he says is what I need to follow because he created me. I am his creation. When I consistently turn away from that, right, that's not good for the rest of the earth. I was created to work with this earth that he created. So I'm a creation. The earth is a creation. We're meant to work in unity with each other. And the more we all turn away from the Lord and the creator that created us and turn towards what we think is right, the worse we are, right? And so this is, again, so what I want to say about God is that he is just, he is fair, right? Because a lot of you may think to yourselves, well, who is he to say what I'm doing is wrong, right? Well, he created you, and he created the boundaries of this world. He created the boundaries of you as a human. So who are you to say that you shouldn't do the things that he's called on you to do, right? So we're trying to take control of our own lives. And he's saying, this is what's good. This is how the world works better together. This is how you fix the problems of the world. Not your way, but my way. And so when you don't do my way, you are evil in the sight of me. And therefore, because I am just, I'm going to punish that. I hope that makes sense. I don't want you guys to think that I'm excusing God, because I know when we look at things, we go, man, that seems so harsh, because in our personal nature, it seems so harsh. I know people come to me all the time and say, maybe not all the time, but I've had people come to me and say, how can your God do this? And how can your God do that? Well, because that's the choice that's what's good. That's why he can do that, because that's what's good. And if I get punished for something that I did that's against what he did, then that is good as well. So when he punishes Israel, it's good, but as you can see, he's upset. He doesn't want to punish his people. These are the people that he picked out and plucked out to be his voice, right? His showpiece. These are the ones that he says represent me on the earth, and they don't, and it's pretty heartbreaking. Like, as a parent, I have 3 kids, and so I want what's best for them, right? And so, I mean, I'm just a parent, and it's a small, short piece of time, and all these kinds of things. But I want what's best for them. I'm older. I've lived a much bigger life than they have lived, and so when I watch them do things that I know are not good for them, and if I punish them for it, when we always say this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you, because there is a reality there. Like, they have this minor hurt for the moment, but we're brokenhearted because we're like, this, when I take away their phone and they're so upset, I'm so upset because I love them and I want them to have joy and peace and happiness. Do you think God would feel any less than that? He created us. He didn't just birth us. He completely made us out of the dust. He knew us before we even dwelled on this earth. And so he's devastated. He's broken. So I want you guys to see the reality that God has emotions. He has feelings. He genuinely loves the people that he created. So if you question, I'm not living a great life right now, how can God possibly love me? Look at what he does for his people. He loves them, and he's heartbroken that they're turning away from him. So it says, because of this, I will weep and wail. I will go about barefoot and naked. I will howl like a jackal. He's showing real emotion in very human terms. It says, so I'm just kind of going down to a later verse, and it says, you who live in Lachish, harness fast horses to the chariot. Oh, no. Yeah, harness fast horses to the chariot. You are where the sin of the daughters of Zion began. So there's something there, that there was sin in Israel that started in this place. I'm not sure what he's referencing, and maybe if I research it more, I might be able to find what he's referencing. But he's referencing something that happened back then. All right, and then he kind of curses all these other areas, the nobles and everything like that. And then it says, shave your head in mourning. So he's warning them, for the children in whom you delight. Make yourself as bald as the vulture, for they will go into exile. So outwardly mourn because your kids are going to go into exile. All right, so we're going to move down a little bit to 2 Kings, because we're kind of building up. We're not getting there today, but we're kind of building up into it being taken over. So in the 17th year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, Ahaz, son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. So we saw that, right? So Jotham died. Pekah is up in the northern kingdom, and Jotham was down in the southern, and now Ahaz, his son, is down in the southern kingdom. So we're going to find out what kind of king he was. He was 20 years old when he became king. He reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. Unlike his father, he did not do well. So I'm going to move down to the 2 Chronicles version, because once again, I think it's the better version, or just, again, more detailed version. So, because there are some things that happen here. All right, so he ruled for 16 years. He sacrificed on other altars. He didn't tear down the high places. He worshipped the Baals. So he did all kinds of stuff that according to the Lord, is against him. And then it says, therefore, the Lord his God delivered him into the hands of King Aram. So if you remember, all these outside areas were trying to conquer Israel and Judah. And it said the Arameans defeated him and took many of his people as prisoners and brought them to Damascus. So they brought them up north. He was also given into the hands of the king of Israel, who inflicted heavy casualties on him. In one day, Pekah, son of Remaliah, killed 120,000 soldiers in Judah. Things are spiraling in both of these areas, in Israel and Judah. Even though Israel is winning this war time and again, other people are coming against them. They're spending money to be saved. They're handing some of their people off to the king of Assyria, right? So bad things are happening in a lot. So then it says, Zikri, an Ephraimite warrior, killed a couple of these special people. These officers are in charge. And it says the men of Israel took captive from their fellow Israelites who were from Judah 200,000 wives and daughters. So they're stealing their wives and daughters from down in Judah and taking them up to Israel. And they're shaming them, right? So a little bit later, we see that they're naked. So they're really shaming them. And it says here, so now a person of God, Oded, comes up. He sees all that's happened. And he comes up and he's like, I'm a prophet of the Lord. And he says, because the Lord, the God of your ancestors, was angry with Judah, he gave them into your hands. So like you won this war because of God, right? God is sort of punishing Judah, and you've won this war because of God. But you're going too far. They're naked. You're stealing their wives. You're stealing their daughters. Like, this is treacherous behavior. You shouldn't be doing this. And then it says, and then he says, send them back. And it says, then some of the leaders of Ephraim, they were really in agreement. So everyone's sort of coming to the conclusion that they need to send these people back. They gave them their clothes back, and they sent them all back into the land. It says the soldiers gave up the prisoners and the plunder in the presence of officials and all the assembly. And so then it says they took them back to their fellow Israelites at Jericho, the city of palms, and returned to Samaria. So they took them back, and then they went back up to Samaria. They recognized they had gone too far. All right, now we're going to move into Isaiah. And this has a very interesting prophecy in it. So we're in Isaiah 7. This is a message to Ahaz, the king that is in Judah, which again is not a king that is following the Lord, but the Lord still speaks to him because these are still his people. So it says, when Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram and Pekah, son of Ka, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, marched to fight against him. So this is the stuff that we were just talking about. It says, Aram has allied himself with Ephraim, so the hearts of Ahaz and his people were shaken as the trees are shaken in the wind. Okay. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, go out and find your son. So he's like, I got a prophecy for you, and I want you to go out, and I want you to find him, and I want you to tell him. So here's the prophecy. He's like, I know you're scared. I should say prophesying. I'm paraphrasing. He's like, I know you're scared, but this is not going to happen, right? So I know these guys say that they're coming all up against you, but this is not going to happen. It says, within 65 years, Ephraim will be too shattered to be a people. So they're not going to come and destroy you. They're going to be actually destroyed. And then he says to him, he says, ask me for a sign. So this is a really interesting back and forth, at least as far as I understand. I feel like Israel probably would have understood this a little bit better. This isn't really, this isn't the way we talk anymore. So I want to say maybe it's some kind of slang, but it's something they would have understood, right? So he says, ask me for a sign. And then Ahaz says, no, I'm not going to test the Lord, which Isaiah gets a little frustrated about because it's not tested. Like, God tells him to ask him for a sign. So Isaiah is frustrated, and he's like, you're so thick-headed. Like, God's going to give you a sign. And so this is the sign that he hears from the Lord. I want you to take out all presuppositions. I know this is really hard because most of you are going to be like, you've heard this a million times in your church, right? You probably heard it around Christmas. You heard it around maybe Easter, whatever. So take out all your presuppositions. Imagine you are in Israel. You're in Judah, I should say, that you are an Israelite. You are a child of God. You are a chosen people to be God's mouthpiece, so to speak. And you hear this being said to you. You have no context under which you understand this. You hear this being said to you. And I know some of you are probably going to be cringing, like, of course I want to know what it says. Try and take out presuppositions so we might put together these pieces. Okay. So it says, Isaiah says, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. And this is going to be the sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. He will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. So that's the prophecy he gets. There's going to be a virgin. That virgin's going to conceive and give birth to a son, and the son is going to be called Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us, right? So there's going to be a son. That son's name is going to be God with us, and it's going to come from a virgin, which obviously doesn't make any sense. I want to go back to this prophecy from Amos, which they may or may not have heard. I don't know. I'm going to assume maybe they did, but I'm not 100% sure. This prophecy from Amos, it says in Amos 5, it says verse 1, "Hear the word, Israel, this lament I take up concerning you. Fallen is virgin Israel, never to rise again, deserted in her own land, with no one to lift her up." Maybe they're connected, maybe they're not, by the way. It just, because I read them within a couple of days of each other, it rang a bell that there's a possibility that the Lord is trying to tell them something, right? Virgin being untouched, unspoiled, right? Clean. So these are all the things that I want to say, these are all the things that God values. And I caveat this all the time because I know someone's going to say, God loves the broken. That is so outrageously true, right? He loves the broken. He uses the broken. He's using this here. This is going to be a sign because remember, these people were not clean. They were not allowed to go in until they cleaned, right? They had to sacrifice. They had to clean, right? And these are the things that make them clean. So there's going to be a baby born to a clean person, right? A virgin. So somebody that's clean, that is unspoiled. And there's going to be a baby born to that says God is with us. I know I'm sort of like beating this dead horse. Obviously, all of you are going, that's Jesus. You might be 100% true. But you're hearing this for the first time and you're trying to put these pieces together. What does it mean that something is going to be born, like God is with us, is going to be born to a virgin, right? Is it literal? Is it figurative? Does it just mean that someone's going to have a son and it's going to be, right? Like, so we just have to sort of reconcile with some of these things. All right. And then it says, the Lord will bring on you and on your people and on the house of your fathers a time unlike any since Ephraim broke away from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria. So a bad time is coming. Assyria is coming. And so this is why, like, I love this prophecy, right? Because it rings true with all of the signs that we see. And yet it sort of looks like it's going to take place before that. So he starts talking about like distinguishing right and wrong with curds and honey. And then he goes on a little bit later to talk about curds and honey. So there's going to be a time, like everything's going to be wasted away to nothing, where the only thing that's left is a couple of goats and cows, and you're going to be eating curds and honey. So does that connect to the prophecy up above? And so I just want you guys to kind of like dwell on that, the meaning of that, not throwing that away or not, again, automatically assuming that we know what it means, right? So just dwell on what Israel may have thought of when they heard this. And then maybe obviously in the future, we might wonder what Israel thinks when we hear certain things happening. So that's it for today. Hopefully you guys have found this to be a blessing. I hope I've sort of brought up some verses maybe that you didn't think of, or I maybe impacted any of your reading and helped you to understand some of the things that were happening here. So if this was a blessing to you, please like the video, share it with people, and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you get notifications. I want you to come back. I want you to keep reading, come back, and enjoy more videos with me. I will see you next time.